Hey, what's really good? What's poppin'? You already know who it is. Um, I wanted to do something a little bit different. Usually I do this for Outriders, but I've noticed a few things and I really enjoy Back for Blood. So I wanted to go over a couple things that I don't think the community is really paying attention to, and I wanted to cover two things here specifically. So, as you can see in the background, we have partial part. We have some of the patch notes, right? And as you can see, it's within the cards. Okay, so on the 9th, they put out a patch. The devs did, and essentially the community feels they nerfed a lot of things. Now, yes, I can see where they did nerf, melee, essentially, because they hit melee with a bunch of card nerfs. Well, debuffs, I should say, to be more, um, more correct on what they did. They debuffed a couple cards, right? So basically, batter up got a little bit of a decrease from 50% to 40%. Brazen, blah 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 blah. We're not going to go over it because you can see it clearly in the background. Um, I want to go over my thoughts on this before we move on to something a little bit different, right? So, melee in this game was meant to be upfront in the shit, keeping enemies away from your teammates, right? Anybody who has played this game knows that majority of the good gun mods, they all have high percentage of like weak spot damage or other kind of damage that they put out. But they also come at a cost, right? They also come at a cost of damage mitigation. And what the damage mitigation does is it drops a negative value. That negative value is usually like, I've never seen any of them go over 5%, but essentially when you stack them over and over and over again, more and more and more, your character is no longer gonna like mitigate large portions of damage anymore, and now you're just gonna keep taking large, like stupid amounts of damage because you're not mitigating it anymore, right? From using these DPS cards. Now, the reason that we have these nerfs, as the community would call them, is because the melee class is meant to be up in the shit, taking the entire horde head on if you have anything, while the DPS should be able to move around freely, not getting hit by, stupid shit. So, here's the thing, right? These numbers are not very different. They're not very different. And in the next part of this video, we'll kind of go over what I'm referring to as not very different. Um, but the values are not, they're not really changed. Yeah, they drop certain things down a couple percentages, but overall, the melee class was specifically meant to be a tank, right? It was meant to tank the damage. So that way, a viable melee build should be there to help keep your enemy or your allies safe. That should be it. Essentially, what we were running into, anytime you queued up for a lobby, was you would run into melee builds where, trust me, I have a buddy who's a strict melee build, Like, I don't think I've ever seen him use a gun before. But essentially, what their intended purpose was being used for was literally just equipping a weapon or a bat or an axe and just walking through and just cleaving through the entire horde. Now, what this was doing was basically making other shit completely irrelevant. And I'm pretty sure the devs were not very happy with this because, I see the patch notes here where they fixed that. Now, a lot of people are claiming this is a nerf. Not really. It's actually a balance change. And the reason it's a balance change is now, instead of having melee classes just push through everything, initiate all the hordes, and piss everything off just because they can just fucking mow through it, now they have to play a little bit more carefully. Right? And anybody knows, randoms are the... Dude. Randoms will trigger every fucking horde possible. So now, when you're playing with randoms, if people aren't aware of what the fuck they're doing, and they're just cleaving through shit with no fucking, just mindlessly, now you can actually and effectively fuck your team and yourself, right? Higher difficulties, this is good, because now you can have your player, right, as a melee, push the enemy, and while they're pushing the horde and keeping the horde at bay, your teammates can be more comfortably in the background shooting shit, right? And at the end of the horde, you can have your medic run up to the melee and provide support and healing so that way they can keep at shit. You know what I mean? It stops the ability of your medic from having to run between every single fucking character, because now they can focus on who's up in the front, just like any basic MMO, right? Your healer's gonna always focus tank first, because your DPS should be learning how to stay out of the splats, right? That's just typical MMO knowledge. But what we're about to fade into is, you see all these damage mitigation numbers, right? Where you see like 40% from 50, 20% from 30%. But let's go ahead and fade down a little bit, and I want to show you something within the actual weapon patch notes. So if you look, melee weapons actually got speed increases in their attack speeds, right? Now, if you really sit back and think about it, attack speed values allow your melee weapon to put out double the damage within a time frame rather than a large hit of damage, right? So essentially, right now, and we're going to go with hypothetical values, right? We're going to go hypothetical values here. We're not going 100% accurate fucking mathematical equation values. We're going to go hypothetical just to be a little bit more simplistic. So, say your baseball bat swings, cleaves, does 70 damage, right? And before the patch, it was swinging and cleaving for 90 damage, right? That sounds about reasonable. Give or take the damage numbers that we were seeing before. I'll say maybe give or take. So anyway, now with the movement speed, that 70 that you're doing could actually and potentially be proccing twice per second rather than just 90 per second. Which essentially would mean you'll be doing 70 times 2, which would be 140 damage, right? Every second instead of just 90. So when people are sitting here and they're claiming that these damage numbers are actually bringing the damage down, that's wrong, right? These movement speed values for the attack values are actually compensating for, more damage. Not to mention they're giving you the ability to swing more for more fucking for more hits. Where, to be completely honest, the melee weapons did swing pretty fucking slow. You add Berserker on there, and Berserker then would increase based off of the melee kills, sure. But, come on. Are we really gonna ignore the fact that, if you threw Berserker on along with Meth Head, if you killed enemies, you would just see the bat swinging faster and faster than a human arm could potentially fucking swing, right? This bat would literally move faster than the speed of light. So I don't even want to hear how these things are nerfed, because now you're getting extra fucking attack speed, right? And I can kind of see where people are like, oh, they nerfed the damage. Like, look at the damage numbers on the bat. The bat actually got a little bit of a hit, because now it needs to do 50% more damage to stumble the Ridden, right? Which, to be fair, 50% is only half of a multiple percent. So instead of doing like 100 damage, now you have to do 150. Woo. Woo. That's like one extra swing, right? Because most of the enemies, they all have their own specific stumble metrics, right? Their own specific damage numbers that they can be stumbled by. And therefore, breaking the stumble meter allows them to take more damage to kill them faster. That's basically and essentially how the damage works in this game. So, when you look at, like, the Fire Axe, for instance, the Fire Axe's damage went from 85 to 70. Let me tell you, before the patch, if you went into the training section and you hit your friend with a Fire Axe, you would one-shot your friend right out of the fucking thing. One tap. Baseball bat would do about half to 75% of their health. The Fire Axe was a one tap, right? Now it leaves them with like a bar and a half of health. So I don't see any problems here, honestly. Me and my boys have played through this for 2 days, right? We've been playing this patch, which is why I haven't done any content on this yet, is I wanted to play it a little bit, see how we handled. And the only thing that I've noticed out of this whole patch that's kind of annoying is how the Ridden themselves, if you're getting hit, they tend to cause you to take a little bit more trauma damage. And unless you have like a solidified medic on your team who is constantly able to cleanse you of said trauma damage, you're honestly just going to get flooded with fucking trauma damage. Then you're going to have to make sure you have copper, so that way you can go ahead, you and your team can go ahead and utilize the med stations, because you only get 4 charges per med station. That's 1 per person. And if you're running with a bad team, your whole team is going to need to hit that med station. Because I'll use last night, for instance, and if you guys want, you can go check the VOD over on my Twitch. We got with a dude. He had to have been new, didn't say anything. Dude was stupid. And in the beginning, we thought it was just what it was. Turned out, this dude was either A, fucking retarded, or he just really had no idea what the fuck was going on, and was not listening to the game chat. So I noticed it at least 3 different occasions where this dude went in when nobody was around, went into an area, found a health thing so that we could heal, and took all 4 charges by himself. Right? Even when his health was fully tapped out and his trauma was completely tapped out, he used the last charge. That fucked us because we all still had trauma, right? And a lot of our trauma was from trying to keep him alive. So that hurt us in a way because we couldn't fucking actually keep ourselves sustained, which meant we had to keep ourselves more on our toes while this idiot just ran around like a fucking moron diving into fucking to hordes and not healing himself properly. And and if you've been playing this game, you know how the randoms are. You know they're almost all brain dead. You know for a fact that none of the groups that you get with are ever going to be that good, and you might get lucky. But let's be real. We're going to say it now. I don't see these as nerfs. I see them as debuffs, and I see them as welcome. So it's your boy. I love you guys. I'm out.